Hi everybody, it's Judy here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing and thank you for all the comments that you guys have been leaving on my videos. It means a lot to me to have those comments left there. I love to hear from you guys. And as always, I really super appreciate you. Today I want to talk about some of my current favorite plants. I have my all-time favorite plants and those ones never really change, possibly for reasons like it's something that I've had since the beginning of my plant collection and they've done really well in all the 2 years that I've been collecting plants, or it's just something that I always loved and those plants never really change. But the plants that I want to talk about in today's video are plants that have kind of grown on me, plants that my eyes have been gravitating towards a lot. I have a new co-worker and I discovered that him and his girlfriend are proper plant collectors, and so it's really nice to be working with someone who understands my love of plants, and we just have a good old chat about them while we're at work. And so I thought in today's video I would just have a good old chat with you guys about some of my current favorite plants. And so the first one that I want to share with you today is actually this red secret. If you watched my last plant haul, then you'll see that I purchased this little red secret. It was in one of those tiny itty bitty pots and I think I paid $40 for this. It was the nicest looking one out of the bunch and it was one of those plants where I kind of just like blacked out and bought, and after I bought it I was like, probably shouldn't have done that. This was $40 and for me personally, for a plant this small, I just felt a little bit guilty. But I did buy this one because at the time this leaf here was simply a little growth point, and so in the last month or so, I think I've had this for about a month and a bit, it's given me this brand new leaf. All the other existing leaves are kind of damaged and don't look the nicest, but I'm gonna leave them and let them die off before I cut them off. But look at this gorgeous brand new leaf there. How stunning is that? As you may or may not know, alocasias actually tend to go dormant or slow right down in the colder months during winter, but this just gave me a brand new leaf and it has a brand new little growth point coming through there as well. So within another few weeks, I might have another leaf coming through. So that actually makes me so excited. I keep this in my bathroom, like next to my bathroom sink, because it's usually quite warm in there. There's good humidity in there. And every single morning I look at this and just appreciate the beauty of it. So I think possibly maybe the $40 has paid off. If it does get bigger or grow out maybe another little whole plant from its bulb, maybe it'll be even more worth it, but we'll see. It's a nice little journey that I'm going along with this red secret right now. I just can't stop looking at it. Like, she's just so beautiful. Look at that. All right, keeping along the lines of alocasia, if you remember several plant hauls ago, I found this black velvet alocasia and bought 3 and then potted them together to make this one full lush top of this plant. Can you guys see? Can you see? Can you see? Now, it sat there for a few weeks, maybe a couple months. I think it's been a couple months now since I've had this, but it sat there for a little while and just didn't really do anything. It maybe threw out a new leaf here and there, but in the last week or so, it's actually thrown out one brand new leaf right here, and it also has all 3 plants potted into this one pot. All 3 of them have growth points as well. And so being an alocasia, I'm really super happy that it actually hasn't gone dormant. Especially now that we're in winter, it still hasn't gone dormant. All I'm doing actually is I've recently been keeping my heater on just 24/7. I've got a very efficient heating unit, and so I just keep it at a constant 22 degrees Celsius, and then I have 2 humidifiers running on either ends of my plant shelf here and just have them set to 75%, and it's just a nice constant warmth and humidity through this space, which is why I think a lot of my plants are really happy and still throwing off a lot of new growth, even though it is winter, like I've said a bajillion times already in this video. So yeah, my black velvet alocasia, I can't stop looking at it. I always gravitate towards this one, and I'm absolutely loving just how beautiful that foliage is. It's velvety and very beautiful dark green right there. Some of the leaves are actually going yellow and a little bit like yellow and soft on the edges, but those leaves that are actually going yellow on the edges are some of the older leaves on the plant. So I think Alocasias tend to drop off the older leaves before they start pushing out some of the newer leaves. So I'm not too worried about those leaves going yellow. I think it's just the cycle of life. It's just the way it goes. So yeah, that's another one of my recent favorites. She's doing really super well, and I'm just obsessed. I don't know if I've talked about this in any of my videos before, but this is a Philodendron Gloriosum. I bought this one single tiny little plant for $70 from a friend of mine who sells rare plants here in my town, and she was so nice to source this for me. When she went to Queensland, she found it for me, and I was so happy to get it. However, it hasn't really done a whole heap for me. When I got it from her, it had one single growth point, and it hasn't actually done a whole lot. But now, finally, it's kind of trying to emerge from its leaf sheath there. I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like because it's a very strange looking growth point. It's kind of curly, and I'm not quite sure which one the leaf is. I think maybe it's one stem and one leaf. I don't know, but I'll keep you guys updated. I'll show you in a future video. Anyway, this is probably one of my more rare, expensive plants. It's not really doing a whole heap for me, but that's okay. It's just gonna take time, I suppose, and especially now that it's getting colder, I probably shouldn't expect it to do a whole lot until we come again into spring and summer. Anyway, Philodendron Gloriosum, I was a little bit worried about the care of it. I thought it needed some sort of special attention, but it hasn't declined or anything since I bought it, and I've just been taking care of it the same as I take care of all my other plants, and it's kind of just ticking along. It's in some very well draining soil, a very chunky soil mix, and I just let it dry out between waterings. It's sitting on the shelf here near the humidifier that's on the floor there, and it's just kind of doing its thing. I'm excited to see what it does come spring and summer, seeing how fast it actually grows during the growing season. The next one is this Monstera Siltepecana. Now, you guys have seen me talk about this before in my plant haul, in my propagation video, in my propagation planting video. And this is kind of another update on it, and I'm really super happy with it. Oh, here's one yellow leaf. Let me just get rid of that yellow leaf. We don't need that. Anyway, it's going really well. Look how lush the top of that pot is. This Siltepecana is a go-getter. It just keeps on going. And there's new leaves coming through all the way through the top. All those more pale, brighter green leaves are all brand new growth. There's a new growth point there, new growth point there. And all the cuttings that I put into this pot, I'm pretty sure all of them actually took. This is gonna be one very big, lush, full plant. Once it starts to grow longer vines and grow over the sides of the pot, I'm so excited. I've got it in my spare bedroom where I've got the ceiling fan turned on medium and just running all day. It's pretty warm in that bedroom as well, and it's got some really good airflow. I have been keeping the soil quite moist, not really letting it dry out completely between waterings, because as you may or may not know, I've got that whole heap of propagations planted into this pot. And so I'm still trying to keep the soil fairly moist for those propagations to actually take to the soil. It's doing pretty good. Nice, lush, full top right there. I don't know if the Siltepecana is actually quite rare or not. I don't really know. Or if it's just something that's becoming more readily available here in Australia. But whether it's rare or if it's common, it doesn't really make any difference to me. As long as I love the look of the plant, I'm gonna get it. The next one is actually something that I've been working on. It's a little bit of a project, I suppose. I got this plant. This is a white fusion Calathea. This was given to me by my cousin for Christmas last year, so over 6 months ago. It was a very beautiful, sweet, thoughtful gift that she gave me because she'd seen me talking about this being one of my wish list plants in one of my Instagram stories like way back when, and she watched my stories, and so she got this for me for Christmas. Unfortunately, around January, it developed a really bad infestation of spider mites, and so I'll see if I can find a picture and I'll leave it here. I chopped it all the way back actually. It was sometime early this year in January, And this all here is the new growth. It's brand new growth back. It grew back fairly quickly actually. I was pretty surprised with how quickly all these new leaves came back. And the reason why I've got it under this cloche is because I find that this white fusion actually likes humidity, lots of humidity and warmth, constant warmth I suppose. So it's kind of in its own little terrarium. It's doing pretty good in there. I feel like maybe the leaves are staying a bit too wet because some of them have actually gone quite transparent on the edges of the leaves and they're just looking a little bit too wet. So I might just leave the dome open for a few hours tonight and let the leaves dry out, and then I'll put the dome back on top a little bit later on. These actually are quite prone to spider mites because the leaves are quite delicate and soft. So with calatheas or plants with quite fragile or thin, delicate look type leaves, you might want to keep a closer eye on those because they're a little bit more prone to contracting pests like spider mites, mealybugs. I've kept a close eye on it. The spider mites haven't come back. I did treat it, but then I ended up cutting off all the leaves because they were just way too damaged. So it was literally like a bald plant. I took a hold of all the leaves and just chopped it back at the base, and this has all come back since then. Sometimes I find with fussier plants like calatheas, sometimes I'll do that. If I've brought them into my home and they kind of struggle to acclimate to my space, and the leaves start looking a little bit sad, a little bit, you know, not doing too good, I'll just chop it all the way back and just let it grow back. And the new growth, once it comes through, will grow acclimated to the space. So that's just like a little tip I have for plants that might not necessarily be looking amazing. Sometimes it works to just chop it all the way back, prune it all the way back, and let it regrow. That's what I did with this white fusion. I actually love it so much because I grew this. It was literally nothing earlier this year after I chopped it back, and now it's come back so beautifully. And I especially love it too because my cousin gave it to me. So I'm hoping that I don't lose it again, but I know if I do and I cut it back, it'll grow back. So it's just one of those plants that just keeps coming back, I suppose. What's next? What's next? Here we go. This is my watermelon peperomia. This was one of my wish list plants for a long time. And when I finally found it, I was so incredibly happy, and I didn't have to pay like an exorbitant amount of money for it. I think I got it from Garden Street Nursery down in Melbourne when I went plant shopping with some friends several months back. It's actually grown a lot. It's grown a fair bit since I got it, and it's continuing to grow a whole bunch of new leaves even now in the colder weather. So all those tiny little leaves in the center there, that's all brand new growth, and it's still continuing to throw out new leaves, which actually makes me so happy. I don't have it in a super brightly lit spot. In fact, I've got it in probably one of the darker corners here in my entryway, but it doesn't really seem to mind that. This is one of those plants that the leaves actually move. So the leaves actually have been moving towards the sunlight this way, which is why I think these leaves are kind of like drooping down, because they're trying to reach for the sunlight on this side, but they're also reaching for the sunlight from that window as well. So this is one of those plants that I need to rotate a little bit every so often. Just keep rotating, but I haven't actually done that for a little while, which is why if I turn this plant around, you can see all the leaves are actually facing in this direction. So rotating your plants just a little bit every couple of weeks helps ensure that your plant grows a lot more evenly all the way around. It actually strengthens the stems and the roots of your plant if the plant gets even light all the way around. So for example, if I didn't actually rotate this plant at all ever, the leaves and stems on this side of the plant will probably go yellow and die off because it's not getting enough light. I actually have this plant sitting on my entryway table, and so I see it every single day, and I just appreciate the beauty of the leaves. I love that it was one of my wish list plants, and then when I finally got it, it's just continued to grow. So it hasn't really So it hasn't really dashed to my dreams of being my wish list plant, if that makes any sense. It's a plant that I wanted for so long and realized every dream of mine about it, for it, if that makes sense at all. Anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense. Let's just move on, shall we? All right, this is an Alocasia Wentii. I'm really loving alocasias at the moment. they do really well for me. And this one especially is doing really, really well. I'll just take it out of the pot there. It's got a brand new leaf coming through. Look at that. Look at this beautiful, gorgeous little leaf. I think this variety actually gets quite large. The leaves can grow really big. So when it comes back to spring, I'm actually gonna repot this into not a much larger pot, but I'm gonna go one size up. This is currently a 12 centimeter pot. I'm just gonna go up another couple centimeters and let it grow out even bigger. Like I said, alocasias tend to go dormant in the colder months, which is okay. Don't try to force your plants that have gone dormant to grow, because sometimes they just need that time to rest and recuperate and recover so that they can go gung-ho come growing season. I have made the mistake before of actually trying to fertilize my plants when they've gone dormant, and I didn't realize that they actually did do that. And so I'd fertilize them thinking that they needed it in order to be able to grow, and it actually damaged the plant. It actually burned the roots, or it damaged the leaves of the plant. And so if your plant's gone dormant for the winter, just let it be and give it some time, give it some space to rest and recover. This one, however, she's still going. It's in direct line of the warmth source, my heater there, and it's sitting right next to the humidifier. Humidity is really important to alocasias as well, and so it seems to be really responding to my space here. What I actually really love about this is that the undersides of the leaves have this deep, almost purple hue to them, and the leaves themselves have kind of a deep purplish green hue as well. And yeah, I just love it. I keep looking at this plant, keep looking at it, and appreciating how beautiful it is. So yeah, I just wanted to share that one with you guys as well. All right, the last plant that has been one of my current favorites isn't looking the most crash hot, but it is one of my favorites because I'm really impressed with myself that I haven't actually killed it. This is a Calathea Orbifolia, and my previous Orbifolias that I have had have tended to struggle, have tended to kind of like die off or go really crispy around the edges of the leaves, and a couple of them have done that, but the whole rest of the plant is actually doing really well. It's got a couple brand new leaves coming through there, if you can see. I had to include this in my video because she's doing really well and I'm really pleased with her progress. I'm pleased with my progress that I haven't killed it. What I've done with this one different is I've given it some bright indirect light. I've put it in a space that is warm within the space here, and I put it really close to the humidifier. Also, I've tried to be a little bit more regular with my watering and not actually letting the soil dry out too much between waterings, because Calatheas actually like their soil to be constantly moist but not soggy. So I actually think it's time to water this plant again. The soil is dry enough to be loose when I move it around, but still feels like that slightest bit damp, and that's generally the time that I want to water this. The thing with Calatheas is that they love to be in the shower. It's like I just put them in the shower, let it sit there, and turn on the water on like a really nice, not warm, but like tepid type temperature, almost like room temperature water, and just let them sit there for 2, 3, 5 minutes and just let them take in all that water. It kind of mimics the rain hitting their leaves, washing the leaves of dust and possible pests that might be on there, and also filling up those little vases. Does that make sense? Vases? Or those little parts in the stem where the stem goes up like this with a leaf that way and another leaf that way, and there's like a little vase in the center. Those little vessels, those little vases in the Calathea, they love to be filled with water. That's why I let them sit in the shower whenever they need watering and just let them do their thing in there. It really has seemed to respond to that method of watering. That's how I water all my plants actually, except for my peperomias. Peperomias I tend to bottom water because they're quite sensitive to getting their leaves wet. So that's just a note about peperomias. But yeah, with the Calatheas, with this Orbifolia, she loves to be in the shower. So yeah, that's just one of my favorites this month, not because she's looking incredibly crash hot, but because I haven't killed her. And I actually thought that I would, because again, it seems to be one of those plants that I actually struggle with. She's just a little bit fussier in the realm of Calatheas. So that's it. I think that was 8 plants that I shared today, 8 of my current favorite houseplants and reasons why I have been loving them. Just wanted to have a chat with you guys about my houseplants. Let's have a chat in the comments. Tell me what your current favorite houseplant is and tell me why. I would love to know. I actually wish that YouTube comments allowed like photos to be posted, although I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's probably a good thing that it doesn't, because especially on the bigger channels, I guess there are some really nasty people out there that would abuse that feature. But anyway, I wish, for me personally, that you guys could post photos in the YouTube comments, because I would love to see your plants. Anyway, that's just my little random thought for the day. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for joining me in today's video. Let's have a conversation in the comments. Let me know what your current favorite houseplant is. And I just want to thank you for joining me again. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.